lecture to be delivered by a very eminent personality, Justice N.Santhosh Hegde, who is the Lokayukta of Karnataka. Before I mention a few words about the speaker, I'd like to tell the audience a bit about the foundation. Those of you who have come for the first time, this is a charitable trust started just exactly 1 week after Mr. Palkhivala passed away in 2002. And we have been conducting lectures by leading personalities every year, at least 2 lectures a year. Apart from conducting lectures, we have set up a research center in the University of Madras for postgraduate and doctoral and postdoctoral research in constitutional law and public law. This is in collaboration with the University of Madras. We have sponsored the Nani Palkhivala Arbitration Center, which is, in this side of the country, the only notified arbitration institute, where we have 3 air-conditioned arbitration halls with an outstanding panel of arbitrators consisting of Supreme Court, High Court judges, leading civil servants, and so on. We have been conducting these lectures from time to time, and it's conducted on a Saturday morning. And I must thank all of you for taking the time of being present here. I must also thank certain distinguished dignitaries, judges of the High Court, retired judges of the High Court. We have the former Chief Election Commissioner, Sri Krishnamurthy, and other dignitaries. I welcome all of you. Justice N.Santhosh Hegde has a link with Madras because he was a student of the Madras Christian College School. That's the common factor between both of us. I was also there for a few years. His father was practicing in the Madras High Court. And after the linguistic reorganization of states, his father went to the Mysore High Court and became a judge of the Mysore High Court. And I learned a few interesting things also about Justice Hegde. First, about his father. His father was a sitting Rajya Sabha MP when he became a High Court judge. And then he became a Supreme Court judge. And as all of you know, on the fateful 24th or 25th April 1973, Justice Hegde, Justice Grover, and Justice Shelat were superseded, and Justice A. N. Ray became the Chief Justice of India. As all of us know, they resigned the same day, and Justice K. S. Hegde went back to politics. Again, he became a member of the Rajya Sabha. He was with Jayaprakash Narayan and so on. Justice N.Santhosh Hegde had a very, very illustrious legal career. He had a very large practice. And he became Advocate General at the age of 43. He had the unique distinction of being the Advocate General of Karnataka, then the Additional Solicitor General, the Solicitor General, and then he was the 4th person directly to be elevated to the Supreme Court from the bar. But more important than that is the role he played during the emergency. And I just wanted to mention this because this is important. The emergency was declared on the 24th, 25th of June, 1975. And on the 24th night, Mr. Vajpayee, Mr. L.K. Advani, Mr. S.N. Mishra, Mr. Madhu Dandavate, they all had come to Bangalore for some meeting. They reached Bangalore at 11:30 in the night. And at 12:05, 30 minutes later, they were served a cyclostyle arrest warrant saying that they were a threat to the peace of Karnataka, etc., and they were put into detention. It was Justice N.Santhosh Hegde who appeared for all of them, moved the habeas corpus petition. It came before Chief Justice Govind Bhatt, and he said, how can you, there's no satisfaction at all. Within half an hour, you say they have reached Karnataka and they're a threat to peace and so on, so they have to be released. The government said, we all just want 4 days to file our counter. And Mr. Nirende, the Attorney General, came to Karnataka. He came to court and said, my lord, we have released the prisoners, the detainees. We understand the order is bad, so we release them. This was the half-truth because they were released and served with a fresh detention order and taken by a special plane to Rohtak. The story does not end there. Justice N.Santhosh Hegde moved an application to bring them back from Rohtak to Bangalore, and that application also was allowed But of course, then of course, ADM Jabulpur came and they served the detention. He only tells me that Mr. Vajpayee alone was not in jail because he had to be admitted to hospital for a spinal surgery. But the other people served their term in jail. So he's been very active, and he also mentioned that he went all over the country at his own cost, meeting bar associations and asking them to appear for detainees. And from our bar, Mr. Venugopal went to Bangalore, Mr. Sorabji came from Bombay, Mr. Shanti Bhushan came from Allahabad, and various lawyers came. Mr. Chagla came from Bombay, there was a retired High Court, he came to Karnataka, and all of them were taken together by Justice N.Santhosh Hegde, and he appeared during the emergency. Now, after becoming a Supreme Court judge, he retired in June 2005 and was appointed as the chairperson of the Telecom Disputes Appellate Tribunal, which is a very important post. And his desire to work for the people made him resign that post and become the Lokayukta of Karnataka. He was appointed in 3rd August 2006, and his term expires in 5 years. As all of you know, he resigned and he took up the appointment again, which he'll explain why in the course of his talk. But I think that perhaps in Justice Santhosh Hegde's horoscope, there's some controversy written, because even if he had been the chairman of TDSAT, with this 2G, 3G spectrum controversy, again there would have been some problem in the appellate tribunal as well. So he functioned as the Lokayukta. I had the opportunity of meeting him in Karnataka in his office. And all of us think that the Lokayukta is only doing corruption cases. It is. In fact, statistically, they have unearthed 1,400 cases of corruption in the span of 4 years. But that is just, according to Justice Hegde, 10% of the work that they're doing. As you know, the Lokayukta is derived, has been started here, but it has origins in Sweden, where the word ombudsman was started, and ombudsman means a legal representative. And in 1967, you had the British ombudsman, who was a commissioner for parliamentary, who was called a parliamentary commissioner for administration reforms. And his function was only to check maladministration. And as Justice Hegde will explain, this is not to supplement governmental functions, but to supplant and promote good governance. I will not stand between you and the lecture. Only one thing I forgot to mention was that Justice Santhosh Hegde, apart from being a very successful lawyer, a very successful judge, a very successful Lokayukta, also has an athletic bent of mind, and he represented the state of Mysore in hockey, unfortunately a dying sport, but he was a hockey player also for the state of Mysore. So you see, we have a very multifaceted personality who's done an enormous amount in a short span of time, and we welcome him, and I'm sure you'll have a very enjoyable lecture. Thank you very much.
A very good morning to you all. Thank you, Mr. Srinathar, for the compliments, deserved or otherwise, given to me. Dignitaries in the dais, of the dais, honorable judges present and past, former Chief Election Commissioner. When Mr. Datta contacted me to deliver this lecture, and on the aegis of Palkhivala Foundation, I had absolutely no hesitation in accepting it. It was my good fortune that I had known Mr. Palkhivala somewhat intimately for various personal reasons, not professional reasons. I did have his guidance as a young lawyer when I casually discussed a state excise matter with him. Thereafter, we had enough opportunity of meeting late Palkhivala, who was known very fondly as Nani for many, but I don't think I can take the privilege of addressing him as Nani. Palkhivala is good enough for me. I had the pleasure of accompanying him from Bombay to Mangalore when my father had passed away, and he presided and delivered the condolence address in the year 1990. Thereafter also, he continued his relationship with my family. A great lawyer, both he and his wife, Nargis Palkhivala, were very kind to my mom. And anytime they had an opportunity of coming to Mangalore, they made it a point to tell us that they will be visiting us. That was the relationship my family had with Mr. Palkhivala. I have keenly followed his legal career. I have especially gone to Delhi to hear his arguments in some special cases, and all of you know about that, the cases which he argued. He was a great orator, another factor known to everybody. Therefore, I don't think I need mention anything more about late Nani Palkhivala. I pay my homage to him today by delivering this lecture on good governance and the role of Lokayukta. The creation of the post of an ombudsman was recommended in India in the year 1966 by the first Administrative Reforms Commission, finally represented by late Morarji Desai. It was earlier, I think N.Santhosh was there, but he couldn't continue there. In that, it was recommended that the time has come when there should be an organization, an independent one, which would supervise the administration in the country. That means at that point of time, it was felt that there was maladministration. Therefore, there should be somebody which could supervise it. Naturally, that body was not, as stated by Mr. Datar, was something to displace an existing constitutional body, but to show them the right path to proceed and help the people who are victims of maladministration. But from 66 till 84, no state passed any law creating the post of Lokayukta. That is a state post. The recommendation of the first Administrative Reforms Commission also said that there should be a Lokpal at the center. I would say, rather unfortunately, that post has not been filled. For that matter, that bill has not been taken for consideration at all, even though it was placed before the Parliament very many times, and the Parliament, as is the case in many issues, didn't find time to discuss the bill. Once it was said that only one issue is left, that is whether the Prime Minister should be included in within the jurisdiction of the Lokpal. I think 3 successive Prime Ministers have stated, we have no objection if we are included within the jurisdiction of Lokpal. But that was not satisfying to the powers that are in Delhi. Therefore, Delhi remains, the national scenery remains without a Lokpal. When Mr. Ramakrishna Hegde became the Chief Minister of Karnataka, he came to power on a slogan of creating a value-based politics. So, In furtherance of that, he picked up this forgotten suggestion of the ARC, first ARC, and moved a bill in the assembly, which passed in the year 1984. But the implementation of the bill, by bringing it into force, was prevented for 2 years by the vested interests. So till about 86, it could not be implemented and brought into force rather. In 1986, for the first time, the Lokayukta was appointed. Justice Kaushal of the Supreme Court, who came from Punjab, was the first Lokayukta of Karnataka. Karnataka Lokayukta Act was, I am using the word deliberately, was a very comprehensive act at that point of time. It did contemplate many activities from the Lokayukta institution, and it had been provided with the necessary infrastructure. One thing very peculiar about the Karnataka Lokayukta is, it is a product which came into existence after seeing the performance of the Anti-Corruption Bureau. Many states have Anti-Corruption Bureau, so did Karnataka. After some time, it was found that the Anti-Corruption Bureau, which was managed by the police officers themselves, were not found to be very effective. Therefore, another body called the Vigilance Commission was appointed, normally headed by a retired High Court judge, thinking that the presence of a High Court judge would bring some change. But at least in Karnataka, that was also found to be lacking. Therefore, the Lokayukta Act sort of brought in the powers of the Anti-Corruption Bureau as well as that of the Administrative Action Correction Bureau. But somehow by a judgment of the Supreme Court in Rangasamaya versus State of Mysore, Justice Jagannath Rao, as he then was, in the Supreme Court held that though Anti-Corruption Bureau comes under the Lokayukta of Karnataka, since Lokayukta of Karnataka does not have police powers as contemplated under Section 36 of the Criminal Procedure Code, and since Section 17 of the Prevention of Corruption Act requires a police officer not below the rank of a deputy superintendent of police